Hi and thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Phil, aka Phil, and most of you know that I got the Nikon Zf when it was launched, and that's already 2 years ago. Through the Nikon Zf I have basically built up my channel with this camera, simply because I enjoy it that much. And if you look nowadays on YouTube, Instagram, social media in general, you could see that this camera did grow in popularity, and most of that is because of the retro design of the Nikon Zf, which was inspired by the design of this film Nikon FM2. And looks like that a lot of people do resonate with that kind of retro design style. I know I have, based on the Nikon Zf, also acquired other different retro design cameras, but the Nikon Zf has a special place for me because I did build up my channel with the help of this camera. And now looking back how long this Nikon Zf has come, it's been 2 years since this camera has been released, and I have to say a lot of things has happened with the Nikon Zf. And you might know that I'm beating a dead horse about that topic, lenses with aperturing and autofocus. I know that a lot of you use the Nikon Zf with the Vogtländer glass, manual focus glass, which feature an aperturing, but for a long time we didn't have that option to have an autofocus lens with an aperturing. And thanks to TT Artisan, now we have a 40mm f2 lens with an aperturing, which does click very nicely, and in my opinion this lens is a perfect fit for the Nikon Zf. I believe TT Artisan also have the 75mm with an aperturing, but unfortunately until today we still don't have any native lens from Nikon with a retro design and an aperturing. But for now we have this option, which I basically run daily with my Nikon Zf. Besides of the lens topic, one of the major complaints most people do have is, of course, due to the retro design, the ergonomics suffers a lot on the Nikon Zf, also because it's much bigger compared to the original FM2, being bigger and heavier. During these 2 years with the Zf on the market, a lot of accessories has been flooded on the market because companies has recognized that there's a need to buy accessories for the Nikon Zf, and have tried a lot to get my Zf basically more comfortable. Most of you also know that when the Nikon Zf was released, this Smallrig Grip was also launched in parallel. I still have that. I have tried several other grips for the Nikon Zf, but none of them, they are all good, but none of them were better in my opinion compared to the Smallrig one. So I have this one also now for 2 years. And the latest addition I have right now is this thumb support. I got that hint from a video from Matt Day. He mentioned KameraKraft. Person is creating accessories also for Leica M cameras, but also for the Nikon Zf. And this little thumb support, it feels very nice because it's completely brass, and as you see, it has a glossy paint here. I didn't expect that, but it fits very nicely in the hand, and it improves the ergonomics a lot in my opinion. If I have a bigger lens, combining this thumb rest with this grip really solves the ergonomics in my opinion. It's still not as comfortable like the normal modern Z bodies or DSLR cameras, but that solution here, I will link it down below for you, is the best I have tried yet. There are other thumb supports which are also nice, which you can put onto the hot shoe, but as you see, this one just glues on the Zf, and then you have your hot shoe free for a flash or something like that. And I have that now for about a week. The glue is very strong. I don't have the fear that it falls off or something like that. And over time it will get some nice brassing if I use it more often. So that's a nice solution in my opinion. I like that very much. I will link it down below. I'm not affiliated with that person or company in any ways. I just love this solution. to improve the ergonomics on my ZF. It's also a little bit pricey, but as I mentioned, since I use this camera a lot and love it, that kind of money is okay in my opinion. Besides of these topics, if you're a Nikon ZF user, you also know that the Nikon ZF has come a really long way regarding firmware and feature updates. Almost every firmware got an improvement or an additional feature for the ZF. For example, when the Nikon ZF was released, this ISO dial was not functioning as most of us would expect, and now you can put on the C position, you can put here the auto ISO setting on the for ISO. That was not possible in the beginning, and luckily Nikon was listening to us, and now we have that auto ISO function also on the dial. In addition, we also got features which support manual focus lenses which are not chipped, so you can set profiles on the ZF for these lenses, and then you get the according EXIF data for a manual focus not chipped lens. Of course, you have to select that every time you use that lens, but at least you get some kind of data. And also, when you use manual focus lenses, Nikon has added an additional feature regarding punching in. I think it was 400% to punch in. And also what was not possible before, if you half press the shutter before the punching in was not cancelled. Now it's possible to do that by half pressing the shutter. The punching in will cancel out before you had to press a different button or the shutter. So also here I was very happy that Nikon was listening to the community to improve that feature. Also a big topic which I also did a video on in the early days of the Nikon ZF is the film recipe topic, because this is a retro design camera. A lot of people link that to Fujifilm cameras, where we all know where the recipe trend is coming from. Nikon also listened in that regard by releasing the imaging cloud, where people and creators can upload, share their profiles. Also the NX Studio software was released in that context, and now we are able to download certain profiles or recipes, you could say, on the Nikon ZF to get a certain look, basically presets. That was quite neat in my opinion, that Nikon is also pushing into that direction. And the latest iteration of the firmware updates, version 3.0, we finally got another new feature which I also covered in the previous video, and that's regarding the film grain. You are now able to basically shoot JPEGs only with film grain. Now there's a menu point in the settings where you can activate film grain. You can also set up the different sizes of the film grain and the intensity and so on. And as I mentioned before, I was very looking forward to that feature because I love to use this black and white dial on the Nikon ZF, and having film grain in the JPEGs for my family shoots is something I really enjoy on the OM3. And now having that on the ZF is something that is just amazing, in my opinion. Unfortunately, the past few days, my family got sick. I myself also feel like I'm having a cold, so I wasn't able to shoot this new feature intensively. I will blend you in here some example images which I took in my flat and outside a bit, but I'm very excited from what I saw already. For me, the settings are right now in the middle. I will blend you it up here where I feel that the grain is big enough, you could say, also the intensity. But having that now on the ZF is something I'm really excited for. And it also shows me that Nikon does listen to the community and really observe how the community react regarding the Nikon ZF. Based on all the firmware updates we have right now, I'm sure that see a big potential in the ZF, and that gives me hope that we might still get native lenses from Nikon with an aperture ring. Let's see. Also regarding the film grain, just a quick note, check out Omar Gonzalez's video where he compares all the different film grain settings via the NX Studio software. He did a great job deep diving into that topics, so watch that video if you haven't already. As you see, in my opinion, we got a lot of features since the launch of the Nikon Zf 2 years ago. In my opinion, the Nikon Zf is basically the camera which Fujifilm was back in the days, where every update got new features on the Fujifilm cameras. Nikon is following that step with the Zf, but also with all their Z cameras, which also get new features on the Z8, Z9 and so on. And I really like that, seeing that on the Zf. You might also see that my Zf is not that beaten up, although I use it mostly, and I also don't get any brassing on my dials. One of the reasons, of course, I have a lot of different cameras which I also shoot during the year, based on my channel, which I want to feature also different cameras and share my experience. But also I have to say that the dial I mostly use is just this shutter speed dial. And if I compare the ISO dial with the shutter speed dial, I do feel like that this dial on this, the ISO dial is much stiffer. The shutter speed dial it's not loose, but you feel that I use it more on that. But I don't get any brassing yet. Yeah, let's see how the upcoming 2 years will look like. The same goes for the exposure compensation dial. I shoot a lot of auto ISO setting, therefore I also barely use this dial and it feels like new still. Also, I have to mention after 2 years, these dials don't accidentally turn when I put it into my camera bag. None of these dials, compared to my XE5, which is only 2 months old, every time when I put it into my bag, at least the exposure compensation dial gets turned, and I'm always surprised why my exposure is messed up, and then I look at the dial and it was accidentally turned. So that's a little bit annoying, but that's something I don't have on the Zf. Besides of the still native lenses missing with aperture ring, the only thing in my opinion which, yeah, you could say missing, but that's perhaps just a matter of time, is the community around the Zf and also the recipe spreading. Because right now the handling of the imaging cloud is still a little bit clunky in my opinion to connect, upload and so on. I hope that perhaps next year Nikon will develop and release an app where you can just connect your Nikon Zf with the app and then upload the recipes, similar to the Lumix Lab app. That would be more convenient. And yeah, perhaps someone like Reggie, whose Fujifilm Portrait recipe is all over the world, might also have a look on the Nikon Zf and release a recipe there. That would be amazing and would also boost the community, I guess, regarding recipes. But from what we have now, I'm very excited. I'm very excited to shoot the Nikon Zf with all the new updates we have with the film grain. Regarding recipes and film grain, I will do a separate video when I have more time shooting that after all the sickness here in the family. But until then, if you are a Nikon Zf shooter, share me your thoughts. Are you excited about this firmware update with film grain, or are you more a raw shooter? Yeah, share me your thoughts down below in the comments. If you made it until this point of the video, thank you very much for your time watching. You are the one who does us like for that. And if you want to watch more Nikon Zf videos, click on one of these and have a nice day.